everyone, my name is Geetanjali Singh and the topic for today's video is Consumer Protection Act. Now for starting, we must introduce what is customer and what are consumers. Now the growing interdependence of the world economy and international character of many business practices has contributed to the development of universal emphasis on consumer rights protected and promotion. Whereas consumer, clients, and customers world over are demanding value for money in the form of quality goods and better services. Obviously, they want, if they are paying for something, they want better services and quality goods for themselves so that it can benefit both the consumers and the seller. Now, the fact of life is that the consumers are still victims of unscrupulous and exploitative practices. Now, exploitation of consumers assumes numerous forms such as adulteration of foods, spurious drugs, dubious hire purchase plans, high prices, poor quality, deficient services, deceptive advertisements, and hazardous products, black marketing, and many more. And in addition, with the revolution in information technology, newer kinds of challenges are thrown through the path of consumers like cyber crimes, plastic money, and etc., which affects directly the consumer in a very big way. And it has been realized and rightly said that so that the consumer protection is socio and economic problem program which to be persuaded by government as well as businessmen so that it can give satisfaction to the consumer in the interest of both the businessmen, the government, and the consumers. Now, in this context, the government, however, has primary responsibility to protect the consumers' interest rights through appropriate policies, measures, legal structure, and administrative framework, whereas consumer participates in the marketplace by using a particular product. Now, had there been a no consumer, no company would exist. The status of consumer is more or less pathetic as far as consumer rights are concerned. Now, we'll discuss about some historical backgrounds of from where the consumer rights has been developed. In the history of protection of consumer rights by law has been long recognized, dating back from 1824. Now, every year, the 15th March is observed as the World Consumer Right Day, and on that day, in 1962, President John F. Kennedy of US called upon US Congress to accord its approval to Consumer Bill of Rights, which constitutes the right to choose, right to information, right to safety, and right to be heard. These were the primary rights that has been given to the consumer, but now in the context of India, it has been given and added. Now, guidelines constitute a comprehensive policy framework outlining what government needs to do and to promote consumer protection in following seven areas. Number one is physical safety, and the protection and promotion of consumer economic interest is utmost priority, and the standards for the safety and quality of consumer goods and services. Now, further distribution of facilities for consumer goods and services measure enabling consumers to obtain redress and measures relating to specific areas like food, water, and pharmaceuticals, and most needed that consumer education and information program. Now, in Indian context, Indian consumer movement as a social force originated with the necessity of protecting and promoting the interest of consumers against unethical and unfair trade practices, which has been in the long due process. Now, rampant food shortages, hoarding, black marketing, adulteration of food, and edible oil gave birth to the consumers' movement in an organized form in the years of 1960s. Till the 1970s, consumer organizations were largely engaged in writing articles and holding exhibition and uh, they formed a consumer group to look into the malpractices in ration shops and overcrowding in the road passenger transport. Now, more recently in India, it has been witnessed an upsurge in the number of consumer protect groups. Now, one should be able to well versed with the laws relating to unfair practices and untrade practices and restrictive trade practices. Be it as it may be in India, various acts intended to protect the consumers against different forms of exploitation and they were enacted. Now in India, the Consumer Protection Act of 1986 was enacted where the objective of this act was the purpose to provide the establishment of the commission so that proper jurisdiction and power has to be given, and a consumer have a proper commission to come into, and to prevent practices having adverse effect on competition, to promote and sustain competition in market, to protect the interest of consumers, and to ensure the freedom of trade carried on by other participants in the market. Now, the consumer forums has been given the six important rights of a consumers, which is right to safety, right to information, right to choose, right to be heard, right to redressal, and right to consumer education. Now, there are three redressal mechanism, that is three-tier mechanism. It is an quasi-judicial machinery at the national, state, and district level. The jurisdiction of each consumer redressal forum has been described under the Act of Consumer Act 1986. Now, each and every district has a district consumer dispute redressal forum, and according to section 11 of this act, this forum has the jurisdiction to enter complaints and dispute only where the value of the goods or services and the value of compensation claim does not exceed rupees 20 lakhs. In the term of State Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission, each and every state has a state commission, and according to section 17 of this act, the pecuniary jurisdiction of the state for entertaining complaints or issue where the value of goods or services and value of compensation claim to exceed 20 lakh but is less than rupees 1 crore. The further categorization of redressal mechanism is National Consumer Dispute Commission, which was instituted in 1988. It is headed by the sitting or retired judge of Honorable Supreme Court of India, and the present president of the commission is Justice R.K. Agarwal, who is a former judge of Supreme Court of India. Now, according to Section 21 of this Act, the pecuniary jurisdiction of National Commission for entertaining complaints or issues where the value of goods or services and the value of compensation claimed is more than rupees 1 crore. The power of these redressal mechanism is same as the district level court, high court, and supreme court. And now in this, who can file a complaint? But according to section 2, subclause 1, part B, a complainant can be a person who is a consumer, and any voluntary consumer association registered under the Companies Act of 1956 or under any other law for the time being in force, or the central government or any state government who or which make a complaint, and one or more consumer where there is more than a consumer, they shall have the same interest for filing a collective complaint, and no opposite direction can be entertained. And in the case of death of a consumer, his legal heir or representative who or which makes the remedies that are available under this act, the duties of customers and the appeals, and how can it be filed will be dealt in another video. Thank you.